When you talk about numbering scenes, this can get into a little bit of confusion because there are numbers that are created before the shooting starts and there are numbers that are created during the production. For our purposes, because we're talking about what happens in pre-production the week before, we're going to talk about the pre-production numbers, which is what you do and as a producer. So let's say you lock down your script, and you can do this well earlier than the last week, but sometimes there's changes to the script just because, oh, we can't get a gas station. Let's change that to or let's just scrap that scene. So when you're a little bit closer to shooting is a good time to do it, probably before your meeting though, and before you start solidifying anything else, because you need to be able to be like, yes, we're doing scene 3, 5, and 7. In the gas station, and that way people are like, oh, I am in 3, 5, and 7, or oh, I'm not in 3, 5, and 7. I don't have to show up until noon. But anyway, numbering is very simple at this stage where you basically just go through your locked script, and did I just shout? Yes, I did. You go through your locked script, and when I say locked, no changes to be made at this point, but there can still be changes, but we'll get into that. And just number it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for each scene. And this will help you when you're shooting and editing, and you need to keep track of all the shots that you got and what you got for each scene. So that is numbering straightforward. But let's say last minute you're at that car dealership and he's like, I want $800 tomorrow if you shoot here. And you're like, oh, I only have one scene there and I'm not going to pay $800 for that. You can do an omit, which is basically just the day before, just scratch it and write omit, and just don't change your numbers because everything's kind of already set with other things in terms of numbering, but then just like scratch it. If you're going to add a scene, let's say, you didn't think you would get the car dealership and all of a sudden they're like, hey, you know what? We forgot that we have a holiday on Monday. Can you shoot your stuff on Monday? You're like, yes, I can. And I'm so glad I can add that scene that I cut long ago and put it back into my, movie. If you've already done your numbering, but it's in the middle of your story, don't change all the numbering. Just add it as the next scene. So let's say the final scene in your movie is scene number 24. If you're adding in another scene right in the middle of it, that's going to be scene 25. And again, once you have your numbers, you don't want to change your numbers, but you can add numbers and you can just scratch and write a big omit over a scene as well. So I just want to make that clear. Put in your numbers when you feel your script is solid and don't change it. And if you need to change it in the way I just said. So while I'm on numbering, and it is sort of relevant, but I don't think you're going to need it that much on your set, there's a set of numbers that the script supervisor calls out on set, and they could be different than the numbers that you have. In fact, if they are, that's their realm, and that's, if they want to call it, 257, they have a reasoning to that, and you might not understand that, but they do. So just, that's different. And so if you have a script supervisor who knows what they're doing, they might do that. So don't go like, oh, I said this was number 2 and you called out 257. Whatever. Let them do that. But because there's a good reason for it probably. But so sometimes they're different, and I just want to clarify that for your purposes on a, short film set that is 1 or 2 days and is an indie, I would just, it's probably not going to happen, and you're probably just all going to stick to the numbers that you came up with. But just in case you don't, that I just wanted to call your attention to that. So we are done with this section. Let's move on to the next lecture.